You're listening to HVAC 360, live from the AHR Expo 2020 in Orlando. Hey everybody, welcome back. Matt Nelson here, your host for HVAC 360, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. I do that either by sharing information, specific lessons learned from the field, or talking with industry experts. And that's what we're going to be focusing on here today. Usually at this point in time, I encourage you to go over to the newsletter and sign up. You can still do that over at HVAC360.com. But today I want to encourage you to go over to YouTube, search up HVAC 360, click on the channel, and subscribe. I'm trying to reach my first 100 subscribers, and I want you to be a part of that. All right, so what's up for this week? This week we're talking with Mike Castro, who is the Training and Education Manager for HVAC and Commercial Business Systems for Bell & Gossett, a division of Xylem Inc. So I had a great interview with Mike, but I really want you to stick around after the interview because I'm going to do a post-interview debrief where I share some additional knowledge nuggets. All right, enough of this chit-chat. Let's just cut to the tape. All right, today we're talking with Mike Castro. We're actually sitting in the Hyatt Regency across from the AHR Expo, taking some time out to talk to Mike. Mike is the Training and Education Manager of HVAC and Commercial Business Systems with Xylem Inc. Bell & Gossett is one of their divisions, and that's what Mike is with. How you doing today, Mike?
Doing well, Matt. Thanks for having me today.
Now, tell me exactly what we're here at the AHR Expo. What does Bell & Gossett have? What does Xylem have that's going to be new?
So this year what we've been focusing on is products that give you more functionality into a single product. So you're going to be seeing some of our products where now we've got the new twin product where we've got the two rotating assemblies into a common volute system. We're also looking at the ECM technologies. We've also got some product that now has the integrated variable frequency drive, and in some cases has the pre-programmed options for control strategies already built in, so we make it a little bit easier for the customer to be able to install the product, to get it up and running, and to perform as it needs to provide the most energy efficiency control in that particular application.
Now, there's been a lot of changes in the pump industry, specifically from the Department of Energy. Can you touch on how these products are integrating with that?
Sure. So the Department of Energy, as you know from a prior podcast I believe you did, about 7-8 years ago, announced that they were going to start coming up with a rating system, efficiency rating system, very similar to Energy Star for our home appliances, for pumping systems. And so fortunately for us with Bell & Gossett took that very serious right from the word go. And so they began to look at the design of the equipment, in which case to be in compliance with the DOE requirements. Now the key thing here is that, as you know, the DOE offered two options for manufacturers to be in compliance with their efficiency levels. One was looking at the combined efficiency of the pump and motor, and the other was the pump, motor, and a variable frequency drive. So Bell & Gossett today, as we stand, as you know, the DOE standards just went into effect January of 2020. And so right now, currently, all of our product lines that are affected by the DOE standards are in full compliance.
Now, I guess one of the things that I'm especially excited about talking to you about is that you were, in fact, in charge of the Little Red Schoolhouse. Now, this is a kind of a Bell & Gossett has been doing this for a long, long time. I don't know exactly how many years.
1954 is when the Little Red Schoolhouse was first opened.
But you had recently renovated it. So
that's correct.
Tell me about some of the upgrades that have been happening with the Little Red Schoolhouse.
Sure. So, first and foremost was certainly the cosmetic aspects, some new paint, some new flooring, etc. We've enhanced our audio-visual capabilities now. So we have the ability to run WebEx seminars right from the schoolhouse. We can do live broadcasting in that way. We can do training in a method where we can do other social media aspects from there. Our live demonstration systems have always been there, but now have been upgraded with some new technologies, both in control and product. We also now have completely renovated our entire mechanical space, such that what's heating and cooling our building. And so now what happens is our mission was that no matter where you're standing in the Little Red Schoolhouse, there's a learning opportunity. And so we take students in through the mechanical room and show them all the equipment and how it's working. And so what it does is it gives us an environment now where we take from a PowerPoint presentation, we can get them out of the seat, put them in front of a live demonstration, and now show them real time how the control valve as it opens and closes changes the speed of the pump, or how the pressure changes when a pump goes on and off, et cetera, et cetera. So we've created an environment now that's aesthetically pleasing, but also has the functionality to give people the opportunity to touch things, turn switches on, what does it do? And so that environment now has given us the opportunity to take not only young talent that's coming in, new engineers, new contractors, but also some of those that have been in the industry for a while who maybe need to keep up on the latest technology. So the environment in the schoolhouse right now allows us to do that.
So now you've gotten the technology there. Now talk about some of the people that you have working at the schoolhouse, like yourself and some of the other instructors. What sort of range of backgrounds do they bring to the table?
Yeah, that's a great question, Matt. So myself personally, I come from the field. I was a Bell & Gossett sales engineer rep for a manufacturer's rep organization for 18, 19 years. I've sold everything they make. I've started it up. I've troubleshot it. I've taught on it. We've done it all. The other instructor in the schoolhouse comes from the product line manager background. He's actually been a product line manager for Bell & Gossett for about 19, 20 years, and now currently is in his 5th year as an instructor here in the schoolhouse. So the nice mix between the two of us is that no matter the nature of the question that we get, whether it be, well, why is this pump built this way, or why out in the field am I having a contractor asking me these questions, one of us has the answer for them. And so by having that diversity, our point is that we want to make sure that when a student leaves, we've answered all their questions and we provided them as much education, not just on the product and the application of the product, but how the industry works, so that we make them a valuable asset for the company that spent the time to allow them to come and spend 3 days with us at a class.
Now, what are some of the classes, or what are some of the concepts that, say, younger engineers have a difficult time getting their head around, or necessarily lacking the perspective of how something works?
Well, the interesting thing is that many of the young students that we have coming in, let's say the newer generation to the industry, they're coming well equipped. They really do have a good fundamental knowledge. A lot of what we do is we take that bits and pieces and we kind of bring it all together for them. So what they're able to learn is why I would use this pump and not that one, or why would I use this particular valve and not that valve. And so the idea is that some of the basic concepts, point of no pressure change, very big one. Until you see it, it doesn't really register. And so having the live demonstration in the schoolhouse where we can show them pumping into the point of no pressure change versus pumping away, that's a big eye-opener. Okay, so that's just one thing that sticks out. Variable speed control. There are so many advances in variable speed control today. And as you know, AHR 90.1, we're right now, anything that's 5 horsepower or greater should have a variable frequency drive on it. But you have so many methods, sensored or sensorless. Where do you locate the sensors in a sensored system? Things like that. Those are a lot of the information that the young students need. They understand the concept of a VFD, but getting it to actually work in a real-life environment in a particular system is where we can really assist them, and that's exactly what we do.
Now, do you have examples of a variable primary, secondary setup in the schoolhouse? Is that something that you can demonstrate for them?
We can. Now, right now, currently, we have a lot of the primary, secondary. We do zoning, so you can zone with valves, you can zone with pumps. Currently, right now, we are in the process of doing some updates to our variable speed system to also show variable primary control, but we're still a few months away on that.
Now, I guess the other concept that, at least, growing up as an engineer, that I have a hard time, kind of wrapping my head around, is the fact, it's a series and parallel pumping. So, is there a demonstration? How do you bring that to life in the schoolhouse atmosphere.
So we do have a demonstration to show that. We have configurations set up to put pumps in series and also to put pumps in parallel. And the key to drive home is understanding that parallel is more flow, same head, whereas series pumping is same flow, more head. And we try to get them in a rhythm of being able to kind of regurgitate what I just told you in the same fashion, which helps them. And then, of course, in our training programs, we also talk about applications where you might want to do series pumping. And we also talk about that the principle can be used in a single product. As an example, a multi-stage pump. A multi-stage pump is just that. It's taking a bunch of impellers and stacking them one on top of the other, called stages, as you know. And so it's the principle of series pumping to create the same amount of flow, but whatever the pressure is needed. So we have all those examples in the schoolhouse and also in the training curriculum as well.
So what kind of training sessions can people expect? I mean, is it pretty much one size fits all where you go in there and you have a certain process, or you have various different multi-day courses, same day courses? What, I guess, and how would you sign up for something like that? How does somebody get from the outside get involved with the Little Red Schoolhouse?
Great question. So first of all, the structure of the schoolhouse is we have 7 courses that are currently available. And we have our Modern Hydronics Basic course. We have our Modern Hydronics Advanced course. Our basic course starts with small systems, more of a residential-based small circulator applications. So most of our attendees in those courses would be maybe your wholesalers, your smaller residential contractors, or light commercial. Our advanced class gets into the commercial systems. Now we start talking about larger pumps, the affinity laws, trimming impellers, and whatnot. Then we have a design and application class. Now that's our first step in hydronic systems to getting into various design structures and some basic control strategies. Then we move into the large chilled water class. Now the large chilled water class is our most advanced class. Now we really start talking about integrating with heat exchangers and free cooling and all of that type of stuff like that. We then offer a steam course. We are a steam company as well. So we have a steam design seminar. And then we have a plumbing design seminar. So we talk about the plumbing world, so domestic water pressure boosting, recirculation. Of course, we talk about control of Legionella, stuff like that. And then finally, we have a service and maintenance course. So now we can appeal to our service technicians, bring them in, and actually have them tear down and re-put together some pumps, understanding how seals go in, etc. What's new this year that we've introduced, and we'll actually be rolling the program out in 2021, is we have a gasketed plate and frame heat exchanger now in the program. So they'll be learning how to tear one down, change the gaskets, put it back together again. Also, the replacement of a bladder in a bladder-style expansion tank. While that's not a common issue, the day that you have to do it, having that knowledge is going to save you an awful lot of heartache and grief. I've done it personally, so I know. In terms of registration for the courses, so this year we launched a new registration process. We actually have a site, and so the students can go to our website, www.bellandgossett.com. They go under training and education, and then they can see the course schedule or the courses that are available. They pull that down. They find the course they're interested in, and right there it can say apply. They click on the apply button, and we give them the registration form. They fill all that information out. They hit submit. It goes through a review process by their local representative. Once approved, they're added to the course. They receive an email in response saying, welcome to the course, here's the dates. If they require a hotel, we make the hotel reservations for them and provide them a confirmation number. The great thing about this program is, looking into the future, is we're going to take all of the course content and we're going to actually put it into the registration site. And so after the student completes the course, their credentials allow them to access all of the course material at their leisure at a later date.
That's excellent,
right?
I mean, it's one of those things that not only from a standpoint of learning the whole process, a lot of times it's a lot to digest at any one time, but being able to go back and use it as a reference is certainly valuable to
and that was the intent. We want to be sure that the students don't leave the schoolhouse and then forget what we taught them, but then certainly also we want to make sure they have access to all of that reference material, because our objective when they left the schoolhouse is that when they go back to their employer, they are now able to, on a daily basis, be a productive individual that can design systems the correct way, which ultimately saves costs for everybody involved and has a happy owner in the end.
Excellent. Now, where is the Little Red Schoolhouse located?
So the Little Red Schoolhouse is located on the property of Bell & Gossett's manufacturing facility in Morton Grove, Illinois. So, and again, that is the original location. In 1954, the schoolhouse was built there, and still today is in that location.
Now, just for some geography reference, Morton Grove is close to Chicago.
So, yeah, it would be northwest of Chicago.
Okay.
North. So if you're traveling in and you're landing at, say, Chicago O'Hare Airport,
right,
you're about 20 minutes away from the airport to reach our facility.
Excellent. Anything else you'd like to cover?
Well, I think what's important is that, what we're looking at is we want to make sure that people recognize that when they come to the schoolhouse, our focus is on system design. And one of the key things with the schoolhouse is that we do not market or sell Bell & Gossett product. That's not our job. Our job is to educate on application and system design. And that's been our premise since 1954 and what we're doing today. And we encourage, whether you are a young engineer just getting in, or if you're somebody that's been around for maybe 5 or 10 years, there's still a lot of learning left to be done, and we have the opportunity to provide that for them at the schoolhouse.
Now, as far as the webinars, is there anything you've kind of established right now? Or is there a way that people can, go and sign up and get notifications? How would people do that?
So there's a couple of different avenues that we have right now. So as you and I had talked about before we went on the air here, we have an e-learning site as part of our program. And so students have the ability to go onto our site and register for the e-learning. And the e-learning is a series of modules that could be anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 minutes long. And at the end of these modules, they have a test that they take. And if they score a 70% or better, we issue continuing education units. So you have the ability to earn some CEU credits without having to physically come to the schoolhouse. Okay. Now, as I mentioned to you also, is right now the schoolhouse is still by far our most heavily demanded training that we offer. But in terms of webinars and whatnot, yes, what we do is we reach out through social media. We're heavily involved with AHR and the Hydraulic Institute and those means. So we put that information out there. We give people the opportunity to register in advance. Typically right now we are on a schedule where we're doing webinars sometimes once, twice a month. We try to keep the topics fresh and relevant to what's going on in the industry right now. But that is, again, all available to anybody that would want to access it.
All right, perfect. All right. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with me and talk about the Little Red Schoolhouse and what Xylem and Bell & Gossett have to offer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me, Matt.
All right. Thanks again to Mike for taking the time to chat with us. Check out some of the show notes for links and things that we mentioned over in the interview. Some of the other stuff that we can kind of expound upon that was new for the AHR Expo. I know we kind of covered it real quick there, so I'll link it up in the show notes. Those show notes can be found over at hvac360.com/150. hvac360.com/150. Now for my additional knowledge nuggets. So I guess some of the things that are important to note, Bell & Gossett does something special in their naming system. We didn't really touch upon it too much, but they do. Anyone that has been certified with the DOE, and remember that's only select pumps of a certain size, not the smallest pumps, and not some of the other huge pumps, but what they have done is they have put an E in the name. So I guess, for example, a Series 1510 is now called a Series E 1510 base-mounted end suction pump. All right. Also interesting to note that not a lot of the manufacturers, or not all the manufacturers, are really taking the same tact as Bell & Gossett. There's probably a few out there that are relying on the increase of efficiencies with drives and motors, things that have been going on from for years. They've taken that improvement, coupled it with their pumps, and therefore qualified to meet the minimum efficiency standards. They really haven't done anything with their pumps. However, Bell & Gossett, again, has not done that. Just it's something to be wary of when you have a manufacturer that really requires a drive to be mounted with their pump. That may be a flag that goes off in your brain. thinking that, hey, maybe they haven't done as much as they could to prepare for this. And again, it might be something that's coming down the pipe and they just haven't prepared, right now, but just be aware of that. Another interesting thing that came along, and we're talking about different things being applied to pumps, different features being added. One of the features that he talked about that is starting to be applied to pumps is putting in a vibration sensor. And what does this do? This actually is one of those devices that allows you to identify a pump when it starts failing. If there's something wrong with the pump, maybe it hasn't been balanced. Maybe it's from day one, or maybe some of the bearings are going bad, and you have these terrible vibrations going on in your pump. Not all pumps have this. This is not like a typical. It's not standard on pumps, but it is something that if you have a facility that may need that type of information, maybe that's something that you talk to your local manufacturer's rep about to see if the pumps that you're specifying have that as an option. Something else that I found very interesting, because pumps with VFDs mounted, coupled together, isn't really a new thing, and he talks about that. But one of the things that I found interesting is that a lot of it, if you have a system that doesn't require a differential pressure, it just does it all internally based on a pump curve, based on a set pressure chart, pressure line, so to speak, pressure curve, or a system curve rather. That kind of assumes, and I guess one thing to keep in mind is that assumes that there's not going to be any changes to that system curve. And if you have a large system that's kind of dynamic, the difference between having a three-way valve or a two-way valve shut off close to the pump or far away from the pump is going to make a dramatic difference. So again, if you have that VFD coupled with the pump that's running, that's just an additional thing that you want to make sure that you cover. And lastly, I think that a couple of things that I want to touch on with the schoolhouse, I don't think that were mentioned, was the fact that the schoolhouse is actually not too far away. It's really adjacent to the manufacturing center. So a lot of times you're able to kind of learn something and then go take a factory tour and actually see that in place. So there's a lot of stuff in the schoolhouse itself, but to actually get to take a tour of the facility, see how the pumps are made, interact with the people making the pumps, the artisans making the pumps, is really kind of cool. Also, another benefit is that when you go to the schoolhouse, a lot of times you're going to have a bunch of different points of view. You might have a manufacturer's rep there, you might have a contractor, an engineer, maintenance staff, all in the same room. And it's really magical when you get that kind of scenario together, and it's not, everybody isn't put off or put at odds with each other because they're working on a particular project and there's good guys and bad guys. If you're all in the same room trying to learn, you get a lot of different points of view. So, getting that schoolhouse atmosphere just kind of kicks it up a notch. All right. Well, those are some of the knowledge nuggets that I wanted to share with you. And I just want to appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. If it was, the best thing to do is you can share this episode. Or, share one of your other favorite episodes with somebody that you know. This is by far the best thing that you can do to spread the word about the podcast. For those who want extra credit, 3 simple asks. Again, go to my YouTube channel, click on the link, hit subscribe. I'm trying to grow that as quickly as I can. If you're not a subscriber, go over to HVAC 360 and sign up for the weekly newsletter. And lastly, I would be greatly honored if you would consider leaving me a 5-star rating review on Apple Podcasts. All right, well, that's a wrap for this episode of HVAC 360. I'm Matt Nelson, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. And as always, know what you build and share what you know.